What if I told you the most sacred hour of your life happens when everyone else is asleep, around 2 a.m., not because of fear, not because of dreams, but because that's when angels move through homes on divine assignment. And the reason you keep waking up, it's not random, it's not insomnia. Something is walking through the room, and your next breakthrough might depend on what you do in that moment. There's something about 2 a.m. that the natural mind will never understand. It's the hour where everything is quiet, when the city sleeps, when the distractions are gone, and the noise of the world has finally taken its hands off your soul. It's not a coincidence that you find yourself waking up at that time, eyes wide open with no reason, heart alert while everything else is at rest. That's not just your body stirring. That's a call from the invisible. A pull from the eternal. Something is moving, and you've been chosen to be aware of it. Kathryn Kuhlman understood this deeply. She didn't wait for the morning to connect to the supernatural. She didn't wait for convenience. She knew there was a mystery to the night, a sacred stirring that didn't need an audience, only attention. When the world is asleep, heaven is fully awake. And sometimes it's in the hour of silence that the greatest activity takes place. We often expect angels to show up in grand moments, bright lights, loud rooms, dramatic entrances, but they don't need all that. They move in obedience, not performance. And many times they arrive when no one is watching, in the quiet hours when your room is still, and your soul is just soft enough to listen. That's why 2 a.m. matters. It's not a cursed hour. It's not an accident. It's a divine appointment masked as a random awakening. Most people miss it. They feel the urge to wake up, then rush to grab their phone, or they turn on the lights, flood the space with noise, and try to shake off the silence. But the silence is the signal. The stillness is the invitation. What you feel at that hour is not anxiety. It's alertness. The spiritual realm is closer than your breath, and something sacred is walking through the air. You were never meant to flip the switch and drown it out. You were meant to pause, stay quiet, and lean in. There are moments when angels walk through homes, not as a spectacle, but on assignment, not with fanfare, but with fire. You don't see them because you've been trained to only recognize what your eyes can explain. But your spirit knows, that gentle heaviness, that strange awareness, that urge to get up for no reason, that sudden wave of clarity that hits you in the middle of your sleep. It's not random. It's a window, a spiritual one, and what you do in that moment matters. At 2 a.m., heaven often looks for those who are listening, not those who are religious, not those who are perfect, but those who are still, who are willing to open their heart in the dark and say, "Speak to me. I'm here." It doesn't require fancy words. It doesn't need rehearsed prayers. It needs presence, availability, sensitivity, that's all. And when that happens, when a soul truly listens at that hour, doors open, things move, angels deliver what no person could ever arrange. You see, divine timing doesn't always look logical. If you're only looking for miracles at noon, you'll miss the ones walking through your home at night. The quiet hour is often the most crowded spiritually. While the streets are empty, the heavens are full. Movement is happening, strategies are being shifted, provision is being dispatched, and your name might be on what's being carried, if you're awake to receive it. This isn't about forcing yourself to stay up or trying to be superhuman. This is about recognizing the moments when you're naturally stirred, when you wake up and feel something unusual in the air. That's not the time to fear or to run from the feeling. That's the time to lean into it. Sit still. Don't speak unless your spirit feels it. Breathe slowly. Let the atmosphere speak, because it will. Sometimes the most powerful encounters are the quietest ones. Kathryn never needed loud rooms to feel the supernatural. She carried an awareness that certain moments are sacred, if you honor them, and that's what 2 a.m. is. It's not haunted, it's holy. It's not a problem, it's a possibility. And for those who will pause, listen, and not reach for the switch, it becomes a moment where the invisible becomes undeniable. So if you find yourself waking at that hour, don't be afraid. Don't brush it off. Don't try to silence it. You may be in the very center of a divine visitation, and all heaven is waiting for is your stillness. You ever wonder why the moment you start to feel something sacred, your instinct is to reach for the light switch, as if the physical light somehow makes you safer, as if what you can see with your eyes is more trustworthy than what you can sense with your spirit? But there are moments, especially around 2 a.m., when turning on the lights can actually cause you to miss the very thing you've been praying for, because angels don't move through distraction. They move through sensitivity. And sensitivity doesn't come when you're in control, it comes when you're surrendered. Kathryn Kuhlman never chased spectacle. She chased presence. She understood that the supernatural isn't about noise, it's about awareness. And awareness is highest when the distractions are lowest. That's why that 2 a.m. hour is so significant. It's not just a random point on the clock, it's a spiritual thin place. A moment where the veil between the visible and invisible gets lighter. But only those who are still enough to notice sense it. Now listen. Distraction doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks like control. The need to flip on a light, check your phone, analyze what you're feeling. Those are all ways we try to regain control when something unfamiliar stirs. But what if that unfamiliar stirring is heaven entering your space? What if that uneasiness isn't fear, but divine movement brushing against your atmosphere? And because we don't recognize it, we reach for a light switch instead of reaching inward to listen. Angels don't announce themselves with flashing signs. They move in stillness. They carry out assignments quietly, efficiently, without needing your understanding, only your openness. But if your space is filled with noise, if your thoughts are loud, if your senses are overloaded with artificial light and external stimulation, you'll miss their movement completely, not because they didn't come, but because you weren't present. There's something sacred about staying in the dark just long enough to hear what your spirit is trying to tell you. Don't rush to fix the moment. Don't rush to control it. Be still in it. Let the unfamiliar settle. Let the spiritual become more real than the physical, and I promise you, what seemed like mystery will become clarity. What felt like fear will reveal itself as glory. What woke you up wasn't your bladder. It wasn't a nightmare. It was an appointment. You're not being asked to perform. You're being asked to be aware, to protect the moment, to let it breathe. When angels pass through homes at night, they're not looking for people with loud prayers or dramatic gesture. They're looking for peace. They're drawn to stillness. They respond to surrender. That's why the atmosphere matters more than you think. You can't host the divine while entertaining the distractions. You must choose one, and at 2 a.m. you don't need physical light. You need spiritual awareness. Too many people miss divine visitation because they're uncomfortable with stillness. They interpret silence as absent. But silence is often a setup. It's the environment heaven chooses when something important is being delivered. And the ones who can stay still in it, the ones who don't rush to solve it or understand it, they receive things no one else can. Clarity, direction, peace, provision, because they created the atmosphere angels move through. You've been asking for answers, asking for signs, asking for provision, but are you quiet enough to receive it? Have you created space for it to land? Or are you still flipping the switch the moment it gets too quiet, too uncomfortable, too spiritual for your natural mind? The greatest moments don't scream. They whisper. And if you want to catch them, you have to stop flooding the room with noise every time heaven starts to move. So the next time you wake up at 2 a.m. and feel that strange tension in the air, that weight, that awareness, that spiritual pressure, don't turn on the light. Don't jump out of bed. Don't try to distract yourself with a screen or a sound. Just be still, stay in it, breathe in that moment, because angels might be walking through your home, and all they're waiting for is someone who doesn't interrupt the silence. Your home isn't just a place to sleep. It's a spiritual environment, a territory, a space that either welcomes the supernatural or resists it. Most people think of their homes in practical terms: 4 walls, a bed, a few lights, maybe a couch and a kitchen. But in the spiritual realm, your home speaks. It holds an atmosphere. It carries a frequency. And whether you know it or not, something is always responding to that atmosphere. The question is, what's your home attracting at 2 a.m.? Kathryn Kuhlman carried such deep awareness of this. She didn't step into any space without acknowledging what was already in the air. She understood that if you want heaven to move, you have to prepare the room. You don't wait for angels to arrive and then try to scramble your environment into reverence. You build it before they come. You guard it daily. Because when the hour comes, when 2 a.m. strikes and divine activity begins, you don't want to be caught with a room full of noise, distraction, and spiritual disarray. What's in the atmosphere of your home? Think about it. Is it peace? Is it worship? Is it stillness? Or is it chaos, stress, fear, and frustration? You can't invite the supernatural into a place where the spiritual climate is hostile. You don't need perfect furniture or polished floors, but you do need a pure environment. One that isn't congested with arguments, bitterness, or emotional clutter. Angels don't move in chaos. They move in order, in alignment, in peace. And at 2 a.m., when everything external has quieted down, your home's true condition is revealed. Many people don't realize that what they allow into their home during the day affects what visits at night. The conversations, the music, the scrolling, the moods, they linger, they settle. They either prepare the ground for heaven or they make the space resistant. That's why it's not about being religious. It's about being aware, spiritually sensitive, knowing that your home is more than a roof over your head. It's an altar, and what you host during the day determines what enters during the night. Kathryn didn't just pray on platforms. She prayed in rooms, quiet rooms, private rooms, and those rooms became filled with presence. Not because of the volume, but because of the atmosphere she created. You can do the same. You don't need a microphone. You don't need a crowd. You need a clean space, a space where heaven feels welcomed, where angels know they can step in without interference. At 2 a.m., that atmosphere speaks louder than your word. Here's the part most people miss. Homes don't become holy by accident. You must guard them. You must choose what comes in and what stays out. And I don't mean physically. I mean spiritually. Some of the stress you've been feeling at night isn't just life. It's spiritual residue. Some of the heaviness, the fear, the unrest at 2 a.m., it's not insomnia. It's the weight of an atmosphere that hasn't been cleared. And the reason angels pass by some homes isn't because people aren't worthy. It's because the atmosphere says, not ready. But the good news, you can shift it. In just a few intentional moments, you can reclaim your space. You can speak peace over it. You can fill it with quiet worship, even in a whisper. You can let go of the stress you've been hosting. You can walk room to room and say, this place belongs to peace. This place belongs to rest. This place is available for divine movement. And when you do that, when you clear the noise and open the atmosphere, something begins to shift. It may not feel like much at first, but over time your home begins to change. You'll start waking up lighter. The fear that used to visit at night, gone. The tension in the air, lifted. And in its place, something different will begin to settle. A weightless presence, a quiet peace, a spiritual awareness. That's how you know the atmosphere has shifted, and angels are near. At 2 a.m., heaven doesn't knock, it moves, and when it does, the question is simple. Has your home been made ready?